Anjali Talapatra, Faculty of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering Department of SRIST. Today I am going to present a PPT on 8051 which comes under the subject of microcontroller and embedded system. It is in the 5th semester of diploma course of ETCE. This PPT is all about 8051 microcontroller. Now the first question arises when you talk about microcontroller is a basic difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. Microprocessor and microcontroller have a huge difference between them. Microprocessor is specifically used for general purpose application, whereas microcontroller is used for dedicated purpose applications. The memory unit, the input-output ports, timers, interrupts, they all have to be embedded outside the chip. They are not available inside the chip in case of microprocessors. Whereas in case of microcontrollers, all these pieces are integrated inside the chip of a microcontroller. The systems of microprocessors become bulkier and expensive, while that of microcontroller becomes simple, economic and compact. Very few pins in microprocessor are programmable, while in case of microcontroller, most of the pins are programmable. Microprocessors find applications in modern PCs and laptops, and microcontroller find application in small control systems. The commonly used microprocessors are 8085, 8086, Intel Pentium series, whereas the commonly used microcontrollers are Intel 8051, PIC16F877, 89960. Now the commercial microcontroller devices and its families. Microcontroller can be divided accordingly into 4 types on the basis of memory, architecture, bits and instruction sets. When we divide or classify a microcontroller according to memory devices, we have 2 types: embedded memory microcontroller and external memory microcontroller. Now, what is embedded memory microcontroller? This is a type of microcontroller in which all the functional blocks are available in a chip data memory input-output ports. This type of microcontroller has all programs and data memory, counters and timers, interrupts, input-output ports embedded on the chip. For common example is the Intel 8051 microcontroller. When we talk about external memory microcontroller, we have all the functional blocks not available on the chip itself. These type of microcontroller do not have a program memory on the chip. Common example is the Intel 8031 microcontroller. Now coming to the classification according to memory architecture. We have 2 types, Harvard and von Neumann. In Harvard architecture, the microcontroller have the program and data memory do not share the similar memory address space. That is, the architecture has separate memory units for program and data storage and separate buses for transfer of data and instructions. Whereas in case of von Neumann, the program and data memory have similar address space. This type of architecture has common memory for storage of data and programs. Our 8051 microcontroller is basically based on Harvard architecture. Now coming to the classification of microcontroller according to the bits, we have 8-bit, 16-bit and 32 bits. In 8-bit microcontroller, the internal bus is of 8-bit and the ALU can perform the arithmetic and logical operations with 8 bit of data at a time. Common examples are 8051, 8031. In 16-bit microcontroller, the microcontroller can perform more greater with accuracy compared to an 8-bit. 16-bit microcontroller can use 16-bit for its operation. Common examples are the 8051 extended series, PIC2X extended series and Intel 8096 series. Next comes 32-bit microcontroller. It uses a 32-bit to perform its operations. This type of microcontroller offers superior processing speed and can handle multiple peripherals. These are used in medical devices and in control systems. PIC3X is an example of such type of microcontroller. Now coming to the last part, that is the instruction set. It is of 2 types, CISC and RISC. CISC is an acronym for Complex Instruction Set Computer. CISC allows the user to insert a single instruction as an alternative to many simple instructions, whereas RISC is an acronym for Reduced Instruction Set Computers. RISC helps in reducing the operational time by shortening the clock cycles per instruction. These are all about the commercial microcontroller devices and families. Now the commercial 8-bit microcontrollers that are available in the market are from the Intel's 8051 family, Microchip's PIC family, Motorola's 611 family, Zilog Z8 family. The common 8051 family members are the Intel, Atmel, Philips, Signetics, AMD, Infineon, Jala Semiconductor, etc. Now coming to the 8051 family members. The 8051 is the most employed set of microcontrollers that is widely used in the industry. It was designed by Intel in the year 1980s. The two other members of this family are the 8052 and 8031. The 8052 microcontroller has 3 timers and 256 bytes of RAM. Additionally, it has all the features of the traditional 8051 microcontroller. We can say that 8051 microcontroller is a subset of 8052 microcontroller. The next one is the 8031. This microcontroller is ROM-less. Other than that, it has all the features of traditional 8051 microcontroller. For execution, an external ROM of size 64 kilobytes have to be added onto this chip. Now coming to the features of 8051 microcontroller. As we can see, there are a number of features which are very much important, but we are going to discuss few of them. It is an 8-bit microcontroller, so the 8-bit CPU is optimized for control applications. An 8-bit microcontroller can handle 8 bits of data at a time. It cannot work with more than 8 bits of data at a time. If it works with 16 bits of data, then it has to break the data into 8 bits and then it can work accordingly. It has 4 kilobytes of on-chip program memory, that is better known as ROM or read-only memory, 128 bytes of on-chip data memory, that is RAM or rather random access memory, 4 register banks R0, R1, R2 and R3, 128 user-defined software flags, 8-bit bidirectional data bus and 16-bit unidirectional address bus, 32 general purpose registers, each of 8-bit, 2 16-bit timer counters, 32 bidirectional and individually addressable input-output lines which are arranged as 4 8-bit ports from P0 to P3. An on-chip crystal oscillator is integrated in the microcontroller having crystal frequency of 12 MHz. Now coming to the pin diagram of 8051. As we can see, it has 40 pins. From pin number 1 to pin number 8, it is reserved for port 1. Pin number 9 is for RST, that is used to reset the microcontroller. Now from pin number 10 to pin number 17, it is reserved for port 3. As we can see, there are alternate functions of port 3 also. P3.0 stands for pin number 10 and it is also acts as RxD pin, that is it is used for receiving function. P3.1 act as TXD line or rather for transmission purpose. P3.2 and P3.3 are the two external hardware interrupts which are designed as INT0 and INT1. P3.4 and 3.5 are the two timers, that is T0 and T1. P3.6 and 3.7 are the write bar and the read bar lines used for writing or reading any data or variables into the memory. Pin 18 and 19 are reserved for crystal oscillator for providing the particular frequency to the system. Pin number 20 is for ground and pin number 40 is for VCC power supply. Now coming to pin number 21. From pin number 21 to 28 we have for port 2. And in the bracket we can see there are higher order address lines which are also assigned on these ports. Now pin number 29 is for PSEN. PSEN is an acronym for Program Store Enable. When we use any program or write any program or coding, this pin is enabled. Now coming to the pin number 30, that is ALE or PROG. ALE stands for address/enable. As we can see here in pin number 39 to 32, there are address and database that are multiplexed together. To demultiplex this address and data lines, we have to use a latch, and that is done by the help of ALE. And when we program accordingly, then we have this signal PROG. Now coming to the EA bar or DVP. EA bar is for external access. When we externally access or rather connect any peripheral with the 8051, then this pin is activated. Now coming to pin number 32 to pin number 39, which are reserved for port 0. And accordingly they also have the address and data lines multiplexed together. Now we can say that we have 4 ports: port 0, port 1, port 2 and port 3. All these ports have 8 bits each, and they function as input-output ports. Now coming to the internal block diagram of 8051. As we can see, we have the interrupt control block that is specifically used for interrupt purpose. INT0 and INT1 are the two external interrupts. This interrupt control block has a line connected to the CPU, which acts as a main brain of the system. This CPU block is connected with the oscillator circuit that provides a particular clock frequency to this system. Coming to this part, we have the on-chip ROM for program coding, the on-chip RAM for storing, and this part is for timer 0 and timer 1. Now come to this part, we have the serial port, or rather the serial communication block, where we have two lines, the TXD and RXD. They are used for transmission and receiving function respectively. This block have the 4 input-output ports, that is the port 0, port 1, port 2 and port 3. We can see that these two lines are specifically reserved for address and data. And this is the bus control block, which controls the address bus, data bus and the system bus in the system. This is the architecture of 8051. As we can see, the detailed structure of each of individual block is provided in this diagram. The first one is the port 0 drivers, where the port 0 pins are connected, and accordingly it is connected to a latch so that proper buffering and storing can be done. The port 2 drivers also have 8 pins which are connected to the port 2 latch. Now coming to the RAM portion, it is used for storage. The RAM address register is used for particular calculation of the specifically address, and then we have the B register. It is used for arithmetic operations in case of multiplication and division, which will be discussed in the upcoming slides. The ACC is the accumulator. In every operations, whether it is arithmetic, logical or any other operations, the result is stored in this accumulator block by default. It is an 8-bit register, and the B register is also an 8-bit register. Now coming to this portion, we have the TM2 and TMP1. These are the temporary registers which can be used as the temporary storage by the programmer. The ALU is the arithmetic and logical unit which performs arithmetic and logical operations. Now we have the PSW block, which stands for processor status word or program status word. The PSW has an 8-bit flag pattern where 5 of the flags are used and the rest are kept reserved. Along with this, we have the SFRs timer. Now SFRs are the special function registers which are used specifically for different functions. With these SFR timers, we have an arrow that has been connected to the port 3 latch and the port 3 drivers. Why the SFR timers have been connected over here? Because we know that there are alternate functions of this port 3. And with the PSW, we have the port 1 latch and the port 1 drivers. Now coming to the left hand side, we have the timing and control section, where we have some timing and control unit like the PSEN, ALE-PROG, ES/VPP and RST. These all are the timing and control signals that are provided by the system. Now here we have the instruction register, which holds a sequence of instructions to be executed. Along with this, we have the oscillator section that provides a particular clock frequency to the system. Coming to this part on the right hand side, we have the program address registers for storing the program, a buffer, a PC incrementer. PC means program counter. The function of program counter is to fetch the next instruction. So PC incrementer is to increment its address location. The program counter block and the DPTR's multiple, that is DPTR means data pointer. It is a 16-bit register and it is divided into DPTR H, that is DPTR high, and DPTR low. So this is all about the architecture of 8051. Here we can see the power supply connections are also provided. Coming to the next slide is the memory organization of 8051. The 8051 microcontroller's memory is divided into the program memory and data memory. The program memory or ROM is used for permanently saving the program being executed, while the data memory, that is RAM, is used for temporarily storing and keeping the intermediate results and variables. Now let's learn about program memory. The program memory or ROM is a type of non-volatile memory used in microcontrollers where the code of the program to be executed is stored using the program counter, like tables or initialization program. Intel 8051 has an internal built-in RAM of 4 kilobytes and can be extended up to 64 kilobytes by using an external program memory. Now this program memory can be divided into internal program memory and external program memory. This is the internal program memory. We can see over here we have the 4 kilobytes of internal program memory and the EA bar is connected to the VCC. If we want, we can connect it to the 60 kilobytes of external program memory. The internal program memory have the address from 000 hex to 0FFX, plus the external program memory has 60 kilobytes, that is the address range lies from 1000 hex to FFFF and this is done by making the EA pin high. Next we come to the external program memory. The external program memory is 64 kilobytes, that is it has the entire range of 000 hex to FFFX and this mode is selected by making the EA pin 0. Now coming to the data memory or RAM, which is a volatile memory, since cutting off the power to the IC will result in loss of information or data. What happens when we switch off? It results in the loss of information or data. RAM is used for temporarily storing the data and the auxiliary results generated during the runtime. Now the data memory of 8051 can be divided into 3 parts. The lower 128 bytes, that is from 00 hex to 7F hex, can be addressed either as direct addressing or indirect addressing. Further, the lower 128 bytes can be divided into 3 parts. The first one is a register bank from 00 hex to 1F hex, that is 32 bytes register bank. Then the bit addressable area from 20 hex to 2F hex. In total, it has 16 bytes. Now next is a general purpose register, which is also known as a scratch pad RAM or scratch pad area. It has the address range from 30 hex to 7FX, that is 80 bytes. Now the next portion is the upper 128 bytes, that is from 80 hex to 0FF for the special function registers, which includes the input ports, accumulator, timers, interrupt registers, serial communication control, etc. And the third one is the 128 bytes of additional memory. Here we can see the specific division of our data memory, where from 30 hex to 7FX is preserved for 80 general purpose register, 20 hex and 2FX is for 16-bit addressable register, and the address range from 00 hex to 1FX are reserved for the 4 types of register bank. Now this is an example of both the direct and indirect addressing. Now the upper 128 bytes have the address range from 80 hex to FFX. It is also reserved for the SFRs or special function registers, and the 120 bytes of additional memory is kept aside for in future use. Now comes the internal RAM structure of 8051. The internal RAM structure and the memory organization are somewhat similar, but there also lies some basic difference. The 8051 microcontroller contains 128 bytes of internal RAM. Internal RAM structure is then divided into three sections: 32 bytes of register bank, the 16-byte bit addressable area, and the 80 bytes scratchpad area of SFR. The 32 bytes register banks can be divided again into four types. That is bank 0, bank 1, bank 2, and bank 3. This is a diagram of the internal RAM structure of 8051. Next comes the 32 bytes register bank, where we can see clearly how the register banks have been divided. Now the register bank 0, that is from 00 to 07 hex, is specifically kept aside as R0 to R7. This division is similar in all of the register bank. The register bank 1 is specifically kept for use in stack operation, that is from 08 hex to 10 hex is preserved for stack operation. Register bank 2 have memory addresses from 17 hex to 18 hex. The register bank 3 have memory addresses from 1f hex to 20 hex, and from 20 hex to 2f hex we have the 16 bytes of bit addressable RAM, and from 30 hex to 7x we have the general purpose RAM. The 16 byte bit addressable area can be accessed by suitable instructions. This is the basic diagram of where byte address and bit number are provided. Now next comes the 80 byte scratchpad RAM or the 80 byte scratchpad area and SFR. The remaining 80 bytes are general purpose area which are shared with data and SFR. The upper 128 byte of RAM access indirect addressing, while the SFR access by direct addressing only. The SFR contains the special registers like the accumulator, B register, IE, IP, etc. These SFRs have specific address which has been shown in the right hand side portion of this diagram. We have P0, SP, DPL, DPH, PCON and various other SFRs, and all these SFRs have particular memory addresses. Now what do you mean by special function register or SFR? These are areas of the memory that can control specific functionality of the 8051 microcontroller. And these SFRs allow the user to access the port, serial communication, control and access timers, configure the 8051's interrupt system and the power control system. These are the list of SFRs that are present in 8051. They are the accumulator, B register, DPH, DPL, IE, IP, P0, P1, P2, P3, PCON, PSW, SCON, SBUF, SP, TMOD, TCON, TL0, TH0, TL1 and TH1. And the corresponding internal RAM address of these registers is shown in the right hand side column, and the corresponding acronym of these registers is shown in the middle column. Now coming to the first register, that is the accumulator, we can see that it is an 8-bit register and it is specifically used for storing the result of operations of arithmetic, logical or data transfer. Next comes the B register, which is used along with the accumulator in multiplication and division operations. These two operations are performed on data bits that are stored only in the registers A and B. During multiplication operation, one of the operand, either multiplier or multiplicand, is stored in the B register and also the higher byte of the result. Whereas in case of division operation, the B register holds the divisor and holds the remainder of the result. It can also be used as a general purpose register for the normal operations and is often used in auxiliary register by the programmer to store the temporary results. This is the structure of 8-bit B register. Now comes to the program status word, or rather processor status word. It is also known as the flag register. As we can see from this diagram, there are few flags. It is also an 8-bit registers and there are 5 flags which are working and the rest are kept for future use. Now this table describes the bit pattern of the PSW. We have CY or C, that is the carry flag. Whenever we have a result and there is a carry out from the result, we can say that this flag bit is set. Next comes the auxiliary carry. When we have a carry out from the bit D3 to D4, we can say that this bit is set. It is specifically used in BCD arithmetic. The F0 is kept for general purpose application. Now comes the RS1 and RS0. The RS1 and RS0 are specifically used for selection of the register bank. As we can see, when both are 0, 0, then bank 0 is selected. When the RS1 is 0 and RS0 is 1, then bank 1 is selected. When RS1 and RS0 are 1 and 0 respectively, then bank 2 is selected, and when both the bits are at 1, then bank 3 is selected. Now this is the OB, which is the overflow flag used in arithmetic operations. In case of 8-bit magnitude operations or 16-bit magnitude operations, when the result is more than 8-bit in case of 8-bit operation, and when the result is more than 16-bit in case of 16-bit operation, then we can say that there is an overflow, and then only this bit will be set. Now the bit 1 is reserved as a general purpose flag, and the last bit is the P bit or the parity bit, which is set to 1 if the accumulator has odd number of ones, otherwise it is reset. Next comes the data pointer. It is a 16-bit register and is physically the combination of DPL, that is data pointer low, and DPH, that is data pointer high. The data pointer can also be used in a single 16-bit register. However, this register does not have a physical memory address, but the DPL and DPH have separate addresses in the SFR memory space. DPL have the address of 822 hex and DPH have the address of 83 hex. This is the bit pattern of DPTR, or rather data pointer. Now comes the stack pointer. Stack pointer points out to the top of the stack and indicates that the next data is to be accessed. It is an 8-bit register and it is specifically used in stack operation. Now comes the input-output port register. The 8051 microcontroller has 4 ports of 8 bits which can be used as input or output. These 4 ports, namely port 0, port 1, port 2 and port 3, have specific functions. They have a corresponding register with same names. If particularly one port bit is set, then the corresponding port pin will be configured as input, and similarly if that particular port bit is cleared or declared as 0, then the corresponding port bit is configured as output. And upon reset, all the port bits are set to 1 and hence all the port pins are configured as inputs. This is the bit pattern of all the ports in 8051. And the corresponding address range is shown in the right hand side of this diagram. This is the port structure of all the ports: port 0, port 1, port 2 and port 3. Now we can see that the basic difference between port 0 structure and port 1 structure lies in the internal pull-up registers. When the resistors present in the driver or the structure is not enough to drive that particular port, we need to have the internal pull-up register so that it can pull up the resistance required to run the circuit. And for this reason, the port 1, port 2 and port 3 have the internal pull-up registers. The latch and the multiplexers, all of these together act like a complex system so that the proper functioning of port can be done. Next comes the serial data buffer register, which is used as an 8-bit register solely for the serial communication in 8051. For a byte of data to be transferred via the TXD line, it must be placed in the SBUF register. Similarly, the SBUF register holds the serial input data received by the TXD line of 8051. Now next comes the peripheral control registers. In this type of register, we first have the PCON or the power control. The PCON register, as the name suggests, is used to control the 8051 microcontroller's power mode and is located at the 87 hex of the SFR memory. The two bits in the PCON register can be set to idle mode or the power down mode. Now what happens in the idle mode? The microcontroller will stop the clock signal to the ALU, but it is given to other peripherals like the timer, serial interrupts, etc. In order to terminate the idle mode, we have to use an interrupt or hardware reset. Next comes the power down mode. In this mode, the oscillator will be stopped and the power will be reduced to 2 volt. To terminate this mode, we have to use the hardware reset. Apart from these two, the PCON register can also be used for additional purposes. This is the bit pattern of PCON register, where we can see the first bit in the MSB is the S mod, and from the right hand side we have the IDL, PD, GF0 and GF1. The GF1 and GF0 are the general purpose flag bits. PD is for setting the microcontroller in the power down mode, and IDL is used for setting microcontroller in the idle mode. The SMOD bit in the PCON register is used to control the baud rate of the serial port. Now what is basically the idle mode or power down mode? In the idle mode, the PCON register is set and the microcontroller turns off the greatest power consumption or the power consumer CPU unit, while the peripheral units such as serial ports, timers, interrupt system all are working normally and consuming about 6.5 milliamperes of current. In this mode, the state of all the registers and interrupt ports remain unchanged, and in order to exit from this mode, we have to make the microcontroller operate normally or necessary to enable and execute any interrupt or reset. Next comes the power down mode. In this mode, we have the microcontroller set into the power down mode, thus turning off its internal oscillator and reduces the power consumption enormously. The microcontroller can operate using only 2 volt power supply in power down mode, while the total power consumption is less than 40 microampere. And the only way to get the microcontroller back to normal mode is to reset it. Next comes the SCON or the serial control register. It is used to control the 8051 microcontroller serial port. It is located as an address of 98 hex. Using this register, we can control the operation mode of the serial port, baud rate of the serial port, and the sending and receiving portion using the serial port. This is the bit structure of the SCON register, where we have all the bits with specific function. Now coming to the description of the bit pattern of this register, we have the SM0, SM1 and SM2. They are used to select the particular serial port mode operation. The REN is used to enable or disable the reception process. The TB8 and RB8 bit are used for transmission and receiving the 9 bit that will be transmitted in mode 2 or 3 and received in mode 2 or 3. TI and RI are the receive and transmit interrupt flag, which are set by the hardware at the end of 8-bit time in mode 0, and these must be cleared by the software. Now this is about the serial port mode control bits. We can see that by operating or by changing the bit pattern of SM0 and SM1, we have basically four modes of operation: mode 0, mode 1, mode 2 and mode 3. In mode 0, the 8-bit synchronous shift register mode of operation takes place, where we have the fixed baud rate and the frequency of oscillation is divided by the number 12. Now why we are dividing by number 12? Because generally in 8051, the instruction cycle lasts for 12 clock period. So to find the actual frequency or actual running frequency, we have to divide the particular clock frequency by 12 oscillator periods. In mode 1, it acts as the 8-bit standard UART mode, and here the baud rate is variable. In mode 2, it acts the multiprocessor communication mode. Now what is multiprocessor communication mode? Where more than one processor are connected to serve a particular purpose. We can say that particular communication mode is the multiprocessor communication mode, where you also have the fixed baud rate, but the frequency of oscillator is divided by 32 or 64 according to the need. next comes the 9-bit multiprocessor communication mode, where we have variable baud rate. Now the TCON register. The TCON register is used to control the operations of the counter and timer in microcontroller. It is an 8-bit register wherein the 4 upper bits are responsible for the timers and counters, and the lower 4 bits are responsible for interrupts. The TF1, TR1, TF0 and TR0 are for the timers, and the IE1, IT1, IE0 and IT0 are also for the interrupts. Description of the bits of TCON register. The TF1 and TF0 are the timer 1 and timer 0 overflow flag, which are set by hardware when the timer or counter overflows. The TR1 and TR0 are for timer 1 and timer 0. It stands for timer run control beat, and they are set or cleared by the software to turn the timer on or off. Now next comes the IE1 and IT1 or IE0 and IT0. IE1 and IE0 are the external hardware interrupt edge flag, and they are set by the hardware when an external interrupt edge is detected. IT1 and IT0 are the interrupt 1 or interrupt 0 type control bit. They are set or cleared by the software to specify the falling edge of the low trigger external interrupt. Now next comes the T-mode register. The T-mode register or the timer mode register or SFR is used to set the operating modes of the timers T0 and T1. The lower 4 bits are used to configure timer 0, and the higher 4 bits are used to configure timer 1. Now let us see what the individual bit of T-mode register work. As we can see, the upper 4 bit is reserved for timer 1 and the lower 4 bit for timer 0. Now the first bit in timer 1 is a gate. When the TRX in TCON, TRX means it is for timer 1 and for timer 0 is set and the gate equals to 1, the timer counter will run only when the INTX pin is high. But when gate equals to 0, the timer counter will run only while the TRX is equals to 1. C/T bar stands for timer or counter selector. It is cleared for timer operation and set for counter operation. That is, when we are performing a timer operation, we have to set this bit equals to 0, and when we are performing any counter operation, we have to set this bit equals to 1. M1 and M0 are the two mode selector. When both are 0, we have mode 0. When M1 0 and M0 1, we have mode 1. When M1 1, M0 0, we have mode 2, and when both of them are 1, we have mode 3. In mode 0, it is acting as a 13-bit timer. In mode 1, it is acting as a 16-bit timer counter. In mode 2, it is acting as an 8-bit auto reload timer counter. In mode 3, it is acting as an 8-bit timer counter controlled by the standard timer 0 control bits. Now what happens in 13-bit timer mode? The 8-bit of the timer higher register are taken and the lower 5 bits of TLX, so that is TL1 and TL0 are considered. In 16-bit timer mode, both the bits of timer high and timer low register are considered for proper functioning. 8-bit auto reload timer mode happens when one bit is 1 and the other bit is 0. It is specifically used in mode 2. Now what happens in 8-bit auto reload? We can specifically give a particular value in the timer to operate. But if we don't give, the value already given will be pre-assumed by the timer and it will start again from that value that was given previously. For this reason, it is also known as the auto reload timer mode. Now last but not the least is the mode 3. The 2 8-bit timer mode or the split timer mode is acted over here. Now comes the interrupts of 8051. The 8051 has 5 interrupts. They are the INT0, INT1, TF0, TF1 or TI/RI. All of these interrupts are specifically addressed. The INT0 have 003 hex vector location, INT1 has 00B hex, TF0 have 0013, TF1 have 001B hex at the address, and TI/RI or the transmit interrupt receive interrupt have 0023 hex. This is the interrupt control system of 8051, or rather how interrupt act in the 8051. We can see over here that the external hardware interrupt 0 and 1 are acting as the input structure to this particular flip-flop, whereby it is going to the IE0 and then to EX0 EA. This is the IE register. IE register works to enable all the interrupt, and the IP register or the interrupt priority register works to set the priority of the interrupt. Now accordingly we have two blocks, low priority level and higher priority level. When the low priority level is selected, they are kept in this block, and when higher priority level is selected, they are kept in this block. And here is the SCON portion. TI and RI are connected to the input of the OR gate, and they are specifically used for serial communication. Now how we prioritize the interrupt in 8051? As we can see, the IE0 has the highest priority, followed by TF0, IE1, TF1, RI, TI. And in some cases where 8052 used, we can say that TF2 or EXF2 have the lowest priority. There are two specifically interrupt control registers. One is the interrupt enable register and the other is the interrupt priority register. The interrupt enable register is used to enable or disable the individual interrupts. If this bit is set, the corresponding interrupt is enabled, and if the bit is cleared, the interrupt is disabled. As we can see, the MSB have EA, then we have ET2, ES, ET1, EX1, ET0, EX0. Now let's learn about how this individual bit act accordingly. The bit B7 is the EA pin, which is used to enable all the bits. B6 and 5 are reserved. ES is used to enable the serial port interrupt. ET1 and ET0 are used to enable the timer 1 and timer 0 interrupt bits. EX1 and EX0 are used to enable the external hardware interrupt 1 and external hardware interrupt 0 respectively. Next comes the interrupt priority register. 8051 basically have two levels of interrupt priorities, that is high or low. By assigning the priorities, we can control the order in which the multiple interrupts can be serviced. This is the bit pattern of IP register, where we have PX0, PT0, PX1, PT1, PS and PT2. The last two bits, that is the bit B6 and B7, are kept for future use. PS is used to set the serial interrupt priority bit. PT1 and PT1 and PT0 are used to prioritize the timer 1 and timer 0 interrupt bit. PX1 and PS0 are used to prioritize the external hardware interrupt 1 and external hardware interrupt 0. Now comes the timer counter mode of operation. We have seen that 8051 operates in 4 modes in serial communication. Now it is turn for the timer or counter to operate. In the timer mode, the internal machine cycles are counted, and so this register is incremented in each machine cycle. So when the clock frequency is 12 MHz and the timer register is incremented in each millisecond, in this mode it ignores the external timer input pin. While in the counter mode, the external events are counted. In this mode, the timer register is incremented for each 1 to 0 transmission of the external input pin. There are basically 4 different modes of timer counter operation: mode 0, mode 1, mode 2, mode 3. Now mode 0. In the mode 0 operation, it is a 8-bit timer counter with a 5-bit prescaler. So it is a 13-bit timer counter. As I have told before, that is the TL1 have only 5 bits, TH1 have all the 8 bits, and they are set TF1 because timer 1 interrupt will cause if conditions are met. Next comes the mode 1 timer counter, where all the 8 bits of timer 0 are used, that is TH0 and TL0 are used. In mode 2, we have the 8-bit auto reload timer counter. As I told before, the value that is given previously will be pre-assumed and it will continue to start from that value accordingly. Next comes the mode 3. Mode 3 is different from mode 0 or mode 1, and it is different also for timer 0 and timer 1. When the timer 0 is working in mode 3, the TL0 will be used as an 8-bit timer counter. It will be controlled by the standard timer 0 control bits T0 and INT0 input. The TH0 is used as an 8-bit timer but not the counter. This is controlled by the timer 1 control pin TR1. When the TH0 overflows from FF hex to 00 hex, then this TF1 is set to 1. As we can see in this following figure. Now these are all about the timer modes of operation. Now come to the addressing mode of 8051. The addressing mode is a way to address an operand. We have basically 5 types of addressing mode in 8051. They are the immediate addressing mode, register direct addressing mode, direct addressing mode, register indirect addressing mode, and the index addressing mode. What happens in immediate addressing mode? The immediate data bits are accessed. In the example move a, #0AFX, we have the AF hex as an immediate data. When any data or any 8-bit data is preceded by the hash symbol, then we can say it is an 8-bit data. The simple instruction is moving this 8-bit data to the specified register, whether it is accumulator, DPTR or R3. Now comes the register addressing mode. In the register addressing mode, the source to destination data should be present in a register R0 to R7. So the register is used for transferring the data from one place to another place. Next comes the direct addressing mode, where the direct memory location is specified. For example, move R2, 45 hex. As 45 hex is an 8-bit data and it is not specified by the hash symbol, we can say that it is a memory location. So move R2, 45 hex will transfer the contents from 45 hex to R2 register. Next comes the register indirect addressing mode. In this mode, the source to destination address is given in the register, but it is acting indirectly. For example, move @R1, 80 hex. What will happen? It will transfer the data that is present in the 80 hex location to the R1 register. So as it is acting indirectly, so it is called the register indirect addressing mode. Lastly, it is the index addressing mode, where the source memory can be accessed only from the program memory. This destination operand is always the register A. The first instruction move CA, @A plus PC. The C in move C instruction refers to the code byte, and for this instruction we have to consider that accumulator holds 30 hex and the PC value is 1125 hex. The contents of the program memory location are moved now to register A. Now comes the instruction sets of 8051. Basically there are 5 types of instruction sets: data transfer, arithmetic, logical, boolean or bit manipulation instruction, and the program branching instruction. First come data transfer instructions, where we have move, move C, move X, push, pop, XCH, XCHT. This is the list of all the data transfer type instructions, where the description is also provided, that has already been discussed in the class, and which addressing mode is specified is also written in the right hand side. Next comes the arithmetic instructions. Add, C, SUBB, INC, DEC, MUL, DIV, DA are the common arithmetic instructions used. This is the list of arithmetic instructions that are being used, and they are followed by the addressing mode types. Next comes the logical instruction. These are the next group of instructions which perform. Some of the mnemonics associated with logical instructions are ANL, ORL, XRL, CLR, CPL, RL, RLC, RR, RRC and swap. This list will provide the list of logical instructions that are being used in 8051. Now comes a boolean or bit manipulation instruction, which deals with bit variables. Some of them are the CLR, SETB, MOV, JC, JNC, JB, JNB, JBC, ANL and ORL and CPL. This table also denotes the various boolean or bit manipulation instruction used in 8051. Lastly comes the program branching instruction. We have here LJump, AJump. LJump means long jump, AJump means absolute jump. SJump is short jump, JZ, JNZ, CJNZ, CJNE, DJNZ, NOP, LCall, ACall, RET, RETI and JMP. All these instructions have specific individual functions, and this list will provide all the necessary program branching instruction used along with their description and the cycles they are using. Lastly, we come to the application part, that where we can apply our microcontroller in. The application of microcontroller in day-to-day life devices include the light sensing and controlling device, temperature sensing and controlling device, fire detection and safety devices, industrial automation devices, process control devices, etc. When we come to the industrial control devices, it can again be divided into industrial instrumentation devices, process control devices. Application of microcontroller in meeting and measurement devices include voltmeter, measuring the revolving objects, current meter and the handheld metering system. Now this is all about 8051 microcontroller. Hope you have liked all the slides and have got a clear concept of how 8051 works and what is the basic structure of 8051. So if you have any query, you can feel free to contact me. So thank you everyone and looking forward for the next slide.